Welcome to the Business Shop Podcast, where our guests speak on meeting the challenges of entrepreneurship, as well as offer tips and advice on business, marketing, technology, and more. Whether you are a newbie or a seasoned professional, this episode is for you. I am your host, Audrey Wiggins. Let's chop it up. Welcome to the Business Shop Podcast, where our guests speak on meeting the challenges of entrepreneurship, as well as offer tips and advice on business, marketing, technology, and more. Whether you are a newbie or a seasoned professional, this episode is for you. I am your host, Audrey Wiggins. Let's chop it up. Hello, Chop Squad. It's great to have you here again. And I'm going to introduce our guest today is Wendy Pace. And she's the driving force behind Pace Setting Media. And she is the founder. She's a trailblazer in the world of social media management and content marketing. She has a solid background in corporate marketing. Wendy transitioned seamlessly into entrepreneurship when the need to stay home with her children arose. Over the past 8 years, she has cultivated an in-depth understanding of messaging and its dissemination, earning a degree in communications along the way. That's awesome, Wendy.
Thank you.
Wendy's approach is strategic and results-driven. Leveraging her expertise, she's shifted from content writing to becoming a key player in social media management, or SMM. Recognizing the power of SEO and keyword-driven content, she makes sure her clients use her as the go-to for answers for what people are searching for online. Now, we'll learn a little bit more about Wendy on the other side of this message. July 27th is National Love is Kind Day. Show some love through your business. Nurture it, grow it, and watch it flourish. Register now for Elevating the You in Entrepreneur Summit. Learn more at bit.ly/elevate the letter U July 2024. bit.ly/elevate the letter U July 2024. We're back with Wendy and the Business Shop Podcast. Wendy believes in thinking outside the box, understanding algorithms, catering to a diverse audience. Wendy is well-versed in AI, algorithms, and digital marketing with a particular focus on platforms like LinkedIn and TikTok. She strongly advocates for businesses to explore TikTok, shedding light on the importance of AI in crafting social media marketing strategies in the era of diminishing attention spans. For sure, Wendy. Wendy emphasizes the significance of live videos and dynamic content. To Wendy Pace, success isn't just measured in big contracts. It's the sum of small victories that lead to significant impacts. I agree with that, Wendy, for sure. Pace Setting Media stands as a testament to her commitment to helping businesses thrive in an ever-evolving digital landscape. Welcome, Wendy, to the Business Shop.
Thank you.
So I always like to ask about some achievements and some fun facts that maybe the rest of us might not know. And do you want to share those with us before we get started?
Sure. A lot of people are surprised to know that I have actually 17 articles written for Black Enterprise Magazine.
Wow.
Some of them are on social media and marketing, and some of them are political and interviews of some of the driving forces here in Georgia. So I was interviewed by the Wall Street Journal to actually talk about making a future for my daughter, who is the whole reason that I started Pace Setting Media. Unpack
that a little bit. So you're starting it with your daughter's future in mind. That's interesting.
So when my son left for college, he had been my third adult in the house, right? He was my responsible older child.
Okay.
And I was in corporate marketing, which required me to travel extensively. And so David kind of became my housewife. He, took her to school. They were in high school together. So he drove her to and from school. He picked her up from her events. And the reason, and everybody's like, well, why didn't she just get a license? Well, Emily has epilepsy. And at that time, her epilepsy was not under control and she was not allowed to drive. She could barely get through the school day, let alone get behind the wheel of a car. So where we live is there's no mass transit system. So it wasn't like she could take a bus. You had to pick your kids up after school programs. There was no after school bus that would bring her home. So when he left for college, I had to work from home. There was no alternative. There had to be somebody available in case she was having a bad day to be able to go get her. And my husband is the director of our library system, and that wasn't an option for him to just be able to drop everything and go. He had to run the library. So I left my job and kind of sat around going, okay, what do I do with this? How do I turn this into something?
Okay, stay relevant here. Family. Yeah.
Yeah, right. How do I keep bringing in the income that we needed and still be a mom and a caretaker? Because she was always our first priority.
Yes.
And a friend of mine who's a director of marketing at the time said, oh, I'm going to outsource my social media. And this is 9 years ago. And at that time, Facebook and all of those platforms were still in their infancy. They had only started 6 years prior, 5 years prior. So a lot of businesses weren't there, especially small business wasn't there. They weren't utilizing that tool. To them, it was just a place to put up a picture of the cheesecake they had at lunch, or, the grandbaby or the new puppy. It wasn't really a place where they were like, here's my product. This is what I do.
Yeah.
So when my friend said she wanted a more robust social media presence, I was like, have another cocktail, sweetheart. Nobody does that. Let an intern do that. I don't know what you're talking about, but no. Why would you do that? That's crazy. So she was like, no, that's what I want. She was like, put a proposal together because I have to have my budget in. I was like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
2 or 3 weeks go by and she calls me and she's like, I need your proposal. I'm putting my budget in. I was like, what? Wait, what? Oh, you were serious?
That was for real?
I was like, okay. Yeah. Could I have like the weekend and get that to you on Monday? And she was like, Monday morning, 9 a.m. I need, okay. Here we go. So I built a website. I came up with the name. I came up with the logo and I created the slogan. And I was like, and we're off.
Okay. So was that all over the weekend or?
All over that one weekend. So from Friday to Sunday, that's what I did. And I sent off the proposal. I was like, here you go.
Wow.
Gave me the contract, and my husband and I were talking, and I was like, okay, if there's one company looking for this, there's 5 companies looking for this. I just got to find those 5.
Yes.
And that's how Pace Setting Media got started.
Okay. Now, how did you come up with the name? Because I'm hearing in my mind Pace through everything that you told me.
Yes. So my married name is Pace. Carlin wasn't going to work for everything. So I was like, I played around with the name. I was like, Pace. Then I did some research. I was like, what else is out there? Well, there's Pace Construction. There's Pace this. There's Pace that. And I was like, how do I differentiate myself? And Pace Setting, Pace Media, Pace. It just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the slogan, it's a marathon, not a sprint, came probably a few months later. We had pushed some other things around and, setting the pace of marketing or, those types of things, the obvious stuff. And then it's a marathon, not a sprint came up when I was talking to people and explaining how social media worked. Social media is your slow drip. Things don't go viral. If I can make things go viral, I'd be a bazillionaire.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Zuckerberg, I'd be like,
yeah.
But it doesn't work that way. So what people have to understand is that social media marketing is just one of the cogs in the wheel, right? That makes your marketing machine work. You need to have your print marketing, your direct mail marketing, your email marketing, your website. All of these things have to work together. But what social media does is that it brings in your SEO, because everybody's like, well, I paid for SEO. Why do I have to continue paying for SEO? Because the way people search changes and terms change. You and I both know salty didn't always mean what it's being used for today. Salty just meant you put too much salt in your food.
Right, exactly.
So
yes,
you have to think about the different ways language is used in search. So here's where being married to a librarian helped me, right? I understood when a reference question came up from hanging out in libraries for the last 30 years with him, that people ask questions and use language differently depending on where you are in the country, let alone where you are education-wise, right? Or even where you are generational, as we see with thirsty and salty and all these things. And I look at these young people and I'm going, I'm sorry, thirsty is just, I need a drink. Thirsty is not anything else. Don't leave thirsty alone. Leave salty alone. Let's
right.
use the English language as it was intended. And there's a funny story for that. I hate to sidebar, but
Sure.
I was working with a web developer. We were creating a website for a lawn care service. And she was 20 something, and I'm not digging at the 20 somethings, but she was a 20 something year old. And I said, and the whole thing was a story. We were telling a story because you were walking up the path of this house that needed help, right? The lawn was dying and it was thirsty for water.
Okay.
So in the story that I'm writing is about how the lawn was thirsty and the flowers were uncared for and all of this. And she goes, thirsty's not going to work for my, people are not going to understand. Thirsty means something else. I said, well, fortunately, you're not the demographic we're leaning towards for this service because it's out of your price range. So you're not the homeowner. You need to understand that thirsty is still thirsty for the rest of us who are going to be writing the check. So with that being said,
that's right. Perspective.
Right. So you have to have the perspective of how the language is being used. So SEO changes based on who's doing the search, who's looking for that, and what are the search terms that are relevant to them or may not be relevant to me or to you. So when you're creating content like for social media marketing, you're writing things because you're blogging, you're looking at the way the content you're creating is being utilized, because all of these things go into the algorithm and how Google indexes you. So in the beginning of this, you said that I make my clients the answer to the question people are searching on, and that's how I do that. I'm thinking not only about how the website works, but how people are searching for them, and putting that question into Google is going to be determined the way Google indexes you, and that goes by the information and the content that you're creating. So if you're putting out relevant content and it's answering a question that's being searched on, Google goes, okay, we're going to move you to the top on that one because that helped somebody. They're trying to make sure that the content that they're utilizing for information is accurate and correct. And as we all know, that's a big problem today. So especially with AI sometimes just pulls things out of thin air based on what it's read.
Right.
It doesn't ever fact check. And that's why you have to have a human behind AI at all times going, wait, no, that information that you pulled out, that's from 1914. We don't want to use that. And it's not really, because it's not even on the internet, 1914, but
right.
but it will sometimes get old information and utilize it. And you have to always ask AI and be mindful to ask AI to give you, where did you get the information from? Cite your sources.
Right. That's very important. That brings that journalistic piece, background in there as well. Sometimes I think as beginners, we may not really understand, what is a keyword as far as what their business is. And if you just want to you can just pull an example, a client example or some other like case study and just fill it out.
So I have a client that's a little complicated to sell. He sells something called an A-frame that he created. He designed it, he built it, and it helps refrigeration and HVAC people move those great big systems on roofs.
Okay.
So that is going to be very specific audience. It's going to be very niche. So when I create an audience for him on the back end of his LinkedIn, I'm looking for people that are commercial roofers. They work at docks, ports. They're moving large equipment. They're fabricators. They're commercial or industrial air systems. These are the key words that I have to utilize when I'm creating the audience, but also when I'm writing the content.
Okay.
And what that does is it allows the algorithms or the program that Google and Bing and all of them use to find the pertinent information that lets them know this is the content that person just put a question in about.
So for your client, then, if they're on Google and in the search bar, they would put in
how to move HVAC system without using a crane.
Thank you.
Or how to use.
I'm searching here.
Yeah, cheapest way to move HVAC without renting a helicopter.
Okay.
You know, that kind of deal. That's how the A-frame should come up.
Okay, right. Because they wouldn't necessarily, would they know that it's an A-frame they're looking
Right. No, they wouldn't know that because that's the name of his product.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So what I have to do is create that content constantly, putting it out there so that it gets to the point where Google goes, move HVAC system or move multiple HVAC systems affordably. So you're looking at words like affordably, cheap, convenient, easy,
right,
craneless. And you have to constantly think of these words. So it's almost like a word game in a way where you're going, okay, how many different ways can I say the same thing?
Right. And so this content is not necessarily just an ad, but it's also what's on the homepage or the about page or whatever product page on a person's website or their social media.
And there's a minimum amount of words that you need to have on a page to make it searchable. It's like 300, 350 is the minimum amount of words that you can have on a page. If you have anything less than that, it's not going to work. The page is not going to get you traffic.
Knock out your competition with Altogether Marketing. We elevate your brand. Take a stance with your business name, logo, the tagline, your colors, even the fonts for your business. And then jab left with your website, jab right with core values. Back up with product experience and bring it on with you. Visit altogether.biz and let us help you create a knockout brand.
And can you talk a little bit too, maybe about like alt tags, and we have photographs or images, any kind of graphic on our website that needs to be in a format that's searchable as well.
Right. So when you're bringing in a file with an image, you want to make sure that it is named correctly. It's not just photo 3, it's gotta be A-frame, photo 2, back end, or, alternativeaframe.com, this, all the things that you need in the meta tag so that it's searchable.
Yes.
Or fix my HVAC. I mean, you could come up with anything. For my, let's see, I have some pain management company. So it might be back pain, sciatic, running down my leg, can't feel my knee kind of image. So that I can have some, and there are ways to tag an image through coding so that you don't have to have all those words in there, and it still utilizes it.
Yeah. And that's the important part when you're talking about putting a website together. There's all the word about user-friendly, user experience, all that, but it's also what's going on, behind the scenes there that we really don't see or pick up as a visitor to a website. And so people really, so that's important to get that across, because you mentioned like meta tags and things like that.
And a lot of people will go on Wix and they'll sign up for the SEO program. They don't know what they're signing up for, or they don't understand, so they don't know how to tweak it. because they're going to use basic language. You as the professional for your website, you're going to know the more terms than what they've generated. You also have to realize some of these easy websites, build your site free, blah, 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 they're European based. So they don't always have all the SEO verbiage that you would have to put in yourself.
Yes.
To create a website that's actually going to convert.
And those are those keywords that you.
And those are those keywords, right? And you need to understand that there's funnels and there's landing pages and, there's offers and call to actions. And this is why I always recommend, please use a web developer. I mean, don't use, Uncle Jeffrey, who kind of dabbles with Wix and he made a website.
Yeah, looks great.
Yeah.
A lot of times they do look good, but
they
that's
look good.
The front door. That's that red door. But when what's behind it?
Yeah. Cousin Boo Boo doesn't always know what, they just made a
You have to bring Boo Boo up. Why do you have to bring up my cousin? Oh my goodness, we're gonna play the dozens here.
No offense to Boo Boo, but Boo Boo didn't get his computer degree.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we do have to pace ourselves when we're getting started, or even if we're restarting or relaunching a website. Perhaps we did put up that quick one, just to get them started, but now is really time to get offline and not offline. I don't mean it that way, but publishing a new site behind the scenes, so we can actually, build some momentum and get to where we want.
And I started on Wix. So, I'm not throwing shade at Wix. I started on Wix. That website that had to be created in a weekend was a Wix website.
and it served its purpose, right?
It did. It got me out there. And the whole purpose of it was, I'm going to make this business card and I have to have some place for people to go and look.
That's right.
Now my website is it looks nothing like what I started with. It's in its third iteration. It's probably going to be heading for a fourth,
Right.
It's time to change it up because it's been a couple of years.
Oh, absolutely. Because I've got one behind the scenes now working on a redesign. And that's another thing too. We can't be shy or not really shy, but fearful of changing. Changing the look, even a redesign of a logo. And then that just gives us an opportunity to, to have something to promote as well, too. And, drive that new traffic and bring back maybe some of the old traffic to our site.
Right. I'm on logo 3.
Okay. Yep. Same here. A few more years, it might be time for another one.
It might not even look like what it started, where it is.
No.
So.
No, and that's okay. You may change your colors, and I think that comes from really just growing up in as a business owner or an entrepreneur, really understanding all of those things. So we start as a baby and a toddler, and the more we do it, the more people we network and meet people like you and learn, go to the webinars and workshops and things. Then we can make those changes.
And you shouldn't be afraid to change. Yes, you keep what works, but don't be afraid to throw out what didn't work. Don't double down on it. If it's not working, if it's not making you money, get rid of it. Stop wasting your time.
Yep, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Now, let's shift just a little bit, Wendy, because you talk about in one of your little unknown things is that you believe AI and TikTok aren't just for the young, and that we really need to, and I don't know, TikTok's in the news. We don't necessarily have to go there, but the different platforms that we need to perhaps, get involved in. And I think TikTok is good. And I don't think it's necessarily niche specific.
No, well, it used to be. I mean, when it first came up, it was, and all of that stuff and how to put makeup on. And it's still all of that. But it's also a great platform to talk about your why. It's a great way to reach out and to create. And I think Yes, you can do that on YouTube, but YouTube's a different audience. Each one of these, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, Thread, they're all a slice of society. And it's generational. It's not just, it used to be it used to just be age specific, right? It was like Gen X was on Instagram and the kids were on TikTok and my mother's on Facebook. I was like, who put my mother on Facebook? You got, she has no business being on Facebook.
Oh, you're right.
So, and then you have the business community that's LinkedIn, right? Mm-hmm. So LinkedIn is where you're a thought leader. It's where you show your expertise. It's where you talk about it's more product specific and personal brand. Facebook, I tell everybody, that's your warm fuzzy. That's where you're celebrating your secretary's, having a baby and you gave her a baby shower and your company did this charity event or that charity event. And TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram are now more about the reels. It's more about the videos. And we are a voyeuristic society. We like to see behind the scenes. We want to see how the sausage is made. We want to know how everything
Actually, I
happens.
don't, because then I probably wouldn't eat it.
We want to know how things are done. And by showing your processes, whether it's using a TikTok little 10-minute clip or a YouTube long format video, these are all important aspects because you're getting different parts of sectors of the community that is interested in your service. Mm-hmm. So whether I call TikTok's my goldfish app because we have like less attention span than a goldfish these days. So not only do you have to create that video, you got to put it in there 1,500 times so that it keeps coming up in the feed. So that the first 5 times they've passed you by, that 6th time they might go, yeah, I'm in the mood to see this now.
Okay.
Because that's the other thing. It's the meta messaging. You have to catch people when they're at the moment they're ready to hear your message. So if you don't constantly put it out there, you're never going to catch them. If you do it one and done, or you put out one a day, it's not going to work. Think about if you're in Instagram or you're in TikTok, how many times do you see the same song before you stop and listen to it?
Because you're right, because we're just doing this.
Yeah, because you're just doing this until they hit you at the right moment where you go, okay, I've seen this 16 times. Let me stop and see what this is about. It's the same thing with your product. You've got to constantly put it out there in different ways. I don't know how many times I heard the same song. 5 times. She was in the kitchen, she was in the car, she was in the garage. And I thought her voice was great, but I didn't download the song until I heard it for the 17th time. Because now it's stuck in my head.
Exactly. And you're singing it all week. It's like, oh my God.
It's like, okay, now it's going to be on my Spotify. Here we go.
Yep, you're out. Exactly. Well, Wendy, this has been fun. And how can we get in touch with you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. Go to Pace Setting Media and you'll find me there. I'm on TikTok.
Okay.
So it's Wendy at pacesettingmedia.com. Drop me an email. It's the best way to get a hold of me.
Yes, awesome. Now, is there a nugget you want to leave with us before we end our time today?
Don't be shy and don't let your perfectionism get in your way. Don't ever let anybody talk you into buying keywords. Do your own search. The first 5 terms that come up on a Google search will let you know how people are looking for that. And then you go from there. And then with your own experience, think about how do people ask you for this service.
Thank you. That was amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And the Chop Squad, I hope you gleaned from Wendy's conversation today. She dropped, tons of information. So just, please do listen and go back and listen again and get in touch with her at Pace Setting.
Thank you for listening to The Business Chop. We hope that you were able to glean valuable information from our guest and that you will download and share this podcast. Your rating and review is much appreciated. To go deeper with our guests, please visit their website and social channels. To learn more about us, please visit businesschop.info or altogether.biz, where we will help you expand your brand. Thank you for listening to The Business Shop. We hope that you were able to glean valuable information from our guests and that you will download and share this podcast. Your rating and review is much appreciated. To go deeper with our guests, please visit their website and social channels. To learn more about us, please visit businesschop.info or altogether.biz, where we will help you expand your brand.